The collapse is coming.
So to recap, Kamala Harris's economic policies are either one, carbon copies of President Trump's are just god awful. And the even sadder news is that her ideas are about to spread through the Democrat Party like wildfire.
The collapse is coming. So Kamala Harris has revealed her economic plan, which is basically in line with socialism headed for communism. Watch the end of the video to fully understand what the threat to democracy absolutely is, based on what Kamala Harris is now planning. And not just Kamala, but society in general. We are moving way more towards total control, dystopia, and outright Marxism. Now let's just go ahead and jump right back into the video.
It's really not at the grocery store level. This is at the corporate level. They've been making record profits. We've never seen the kind of profits in corporate America the last couple of years. And when they're doing that, they're bragging about increasing prices. So my point is that we should give the federal government the power to investigate just run-of-the-mill price gouging, and you give the people an opportunity to fight back against them. As I said, if they're not engaged in corporate price gouging, they got nothing to worry about. But this is long overdue. People are tired of just accepting higher prices.
Now, just to be clear, no one is not saying that they should not investigate and determine what's going on. If corporations are actually engaging in collusion to, increase prices, just so that they can take advantage of the consumer. For example, this is something that Enron did at one point, where they were having the power turned off so they could artificially inflate profits. If companies are deliberately trying to reduce the food supply, manipulate the food supply so that prices will continuously be higher, that's something that we do have to know about 100%. Okay, and if people are doing that, they need to go to jail. What Kamala Harris is actually suggesting is, what she's saying that she's going to do is cap the cost of food. So in other words, she will cap the cost of food, just like they've done in Venezuela, and what they did in Venezuela. And and she would start with food, and basically they would not be able to charge more than certain amounts for different food products. In theory, it sounds great. Like, okay, so this is gonna make sure that they can't charge more than this. Guys, a lot of products won't even be sold anymore. Okay? A lot of products simply wouldn't be sold anymore. A lot of companies would go out of business. And there's a lot of idiots who are like, good, let them go out of business. Let them go out of business. This is, guys, when they tried this in Venezuela, where they regulated the prices of food, and they basically said that you cannot charge any more than this amount. All of these companies stopped selling products in Venezuela. Guys, they had no food. People were starving over there. Companies stopped selling food. They stopped selling toiletries. They stopped selling all products over there. There was nothing there. And then once they did start selling things again, Venezuela was like, okay, fine, you can charge whatever you want. We saw extreme hyperinflation, and people had to go to the grocery store with bags of money. The bolivar, that's their currency, completely fell and fell to nothing. It crashed and burned. They began using things like Bitcoin and Ethereum to do trade in the country, and now everything in Venezuela is done using cash. Okay, and we just saw a presidential election occur in Venezuela, where, based on what we know, Maduro actually lost the election. However, he's clinging to power and refusing to step down. This is what. Don't forget, Venezuela was the third wealthiest country in the Western Hemisphere before its collapse. It was extremely wealthy, and we got a lot of our oil from Venezuela. They actually have the largest oil reserves in the world. And this is the madness this is the living hell that we are in right now. To be very clear, if we were able to, if Maduro were to leave the country, leave their government, that government were to leave, and we were able to get a better government in Venezuela, it could actually have significant benefits for the United States, because we get a lot of our oil from Venezuela. We did previously. That could result in energy prices going down. Now, if you have these companies that are oil companies that are deliberately plotting these to artificially keep prices high, they need to be investigated. They also need to be broken up. That's one of the best tools that we have, is breaking up these monopolies, because we have way too many monopolies in America. So these companies need to be broken up. If you have companies that are engaging in artificially and increasing the prices of food, for example, that's one, like, companies like Tyson. You have one company that provides us most of our food in the United States, so they can basically charge whatever they want, and there's no competition, and they basically, gotten rid of all the mom and pop organized companies. You break them up. You break these companies up into smaller pieces. So if you have like these large food manufacturers, you break them up. You don't start regulating the cost of food. All right. You break these monopolies up. That's the solution. We are literally going to hell in a handbasket.
Media chairman and editor-in-chief Steve Forbes himself. Steve, you've been around for a little while. We had a problem with inflation, and it seems like the Kamala Harris plan is either let's price fix or let's give money away. In your experience, how is that going to work?
Well, you don't have to have a personal experience. Just look at the history books.
Right.
I'm old enough, though, to remember Richard Nixon, how well those price controls worked in the great inflation of the 1970s. Look, whenever government creates a big problem, and this inflation problem is government created, government then says, you got to give us more powers, more control to deal with the problem we created. And that's what we see unfolding here. On groceries, everyone's now pointed out 1% to 2% margins is hardly price gouging, but they want to have the power to determine whether your prices are fair. That's a Soviet-style system. They want to introduce the income, universal income, starting with the child tax credit, $6,000 a year. And so you look at housing. The idea that government's going to help housing, God help us, we'll all be living in caves. Look what they did with EV chargers. $7 billion. How many have been built? About 8. Half of them don't work. So now they're going to solve the housing problem. I want to live in a house, not on the sidewalk.
Yeah, the billions set aside for broadband to rural America, there hadn't been one shovel stuck in the ground because of that. We had And
that's an opportunity. Unspent money, let's return it to the taxpayer. Oh, I can't do that.
But you have to explain why on planet Earth would she go out, and even Senator Bob Casey, who's running for re-election, why would they act like that this is a good idea? Who would put her up to price controls of all things, knowing that they are a failure? Is she so intoxicated with her own awesomeness that she thinks she can sell food shortages and bare grocery store shelves to the American people? Because that's what happens.
I'm going to go to a new form of publishing, ration books, because that's what this would lead to. And they know, well, price controls, they know people are upset by rising prices. So they say, we'll lower them by government fiat. And they make it sound like if you just say it, sign an executive order, it's done. So they can lower the nominal prices, but as they said in the Soviet Union, it's free, but you can't get any.
You know, Steve, it's very simple. We've talked about this a lot on The Bottom Line. Basic supply and demand. You have this administration that has targeted farmers and ranchers. You look at the Central Valley of California, it is a breadbasket. A lot of farmers are there, and they're shutting off the water. So the farms are going out of business. They're attacking ranchers. Well, if you attack our food supply, prices are going to go up. And so the answer is, get rid of your bad policy. Let farmers and ranchers grow.
Well, as President Trump said yesterday, get rid of the barriers to building houses.
Yes.
Why does a development in Texas take a few weeks to get underway and years in California? And on water in California, talk about agriculture there. Half of the rainfall, average annual rainfall, is flushed out into the Pacific Ocean. Flushed out, either for environmental reasons, crazy ones, or they just can't build reservoirs. So it's not a water shortage, it's government shortage.
But to put an exclamation point on this, they believe that profits are evil. And they're going to decide what a company or a small business gets to earn. And this is the path. She is further left, way further left than what we've seen in the last 3.5 years.
Yeah, this is cronyism. They decide who gets money and who doesn't. And by the way, they'll have to put profit in the endangered species by the time they get through.
Now, guys, you know what's interesting? I've been talking about some of these things on my channel, and there's so many people, like a lot of you are leftist. A lot of you are 100% leftist, and you are advocating for socialism. So I made a post saying socialism is not kindness, a video about this. And I've been showing you some of the comments some of you guys have been leaving. Let's look at this comment from SPH Spinks. He says, I'm going to say this and probably have people dislike it, but yes, working any job full-time should provide a livable wage. The reason is it should provide a livable wage, food, shelter, the basics of living, is because there are people in society that are without the family assistance to survive, that will only be mentally competent to be able to work entry-level work. Individuals like this should not be put into a situation where they are reliant on society if they are capable of working. Furthermore, entry-level wages should be enough that when someone moves out of their parents' house, they should be able to afford food, shelter, and the basic necessities to survive in modern society. Entry level is when someone is getting their feet under them and getting started in the workforce. Guys, keep in mind, you have these people who go into these entry level jobs and they spend 20 years working at McDonald's, 30 years working at McDonald's, and these people deserve a living wage? You've got to be kidding me. Bear in mind, a livable wage doesn't mean being able to have all subscription services and everything else with vacations, eating anything you want, and not having to be frugal about your money and what is best for you for what is best for you to spend on. Livable wage does not mean making it the same wages as a college professor or someone that is in other skilled positions. Livable wage doesn't mean middle class either. Growing up, my family was barely above poverty level and not able to get food stamps. We lived in a crap neighborhood and didn't have a lot, but we made what we had stretch. We didn't have beyond the most basic cable, and going to the movies or short family trips in state to a theme park were carefully planned and budgeted for. This is a livable wage. Not going hungry and being able to survive where we were able to budget everything to be able to comfortably survive and work toward better, that is a livable wage. I think you are mistaking what livable wage is when you're equating people saying, yes, entry level should be a livable wage with being a middle class wage earner. There is a difference. I do wholeheartedly agree that true socialism is not kindness, but discussing it with a tone that livable means middle class is not going to help get people to understand just how bad it is. Yeah, guys, this is a level of stupidity. Entry level job, like truly entry level jobs. I'm not talking about, working in an office. For example, that's an entry level job. When you graduate from college with your college degree and you start a job, those are jobs that are supposed to be able where you technically speaking should then be able to earn a livable wage in that respect. That's what a college degree. Those are entry level jobs. No, what he's talking about are unskilled jobs. He's referring to unskilled jobs as entry level jobs, and people who do unskilled jobs should be able to make a livable wage. People who start off working at McDonald's should be able to make enough money to provide a roof over their head, provide food, cover the costs and expenses of a family, and basically survive, because they're not all because not everyone is mentally competent, and these are just the jobs that only some people are able to do. This is stupidity. This is such stupidity. Well, not everyone is as bright as you are, buddy. Okay, so we have to have these jobs for these people. If they're able to work, they should be able to work and make and be treated right. Okay, it's not that they should be living, have everything that they want, but they should have enough so they can survive. Guys, basic jobs like McDonald's are designed to give you some work experience. They're not designed for you to work these jobs for the next 20 or 30 years. These are not permanent job entries. And we don't live in a society where we need to create jobs for mentally incompetent people and give them a livable wage because they're mentally incompetent. That's not how society works. And there's a lot of people who damn well know that they just don't want to work very hard. You have a lot of people in fast food who work in fast food for decades, and it's a choice that they made to live these lives. All right. They worked at Walmart for decades, and it's a choice that they made to live these lives. They didn't want to go and get a skill. They didn't want to develop a skill. It doesn't have to mean you have to go to university. A lot of college education is crap today. But they could have went and developed a skill. They chose not to develop any skills. They didn't want to work any harder. They wanted easy lives. They wanted easy jobs. Hence, that's why they continue to do these jobs. Life is hard. All right? You have to rise above it. You have to go and become skilled. But these people don't want to do it. They don't want to invest. They don't want to learn to do plumbing. They don't want to learn to do electrical work. They don't want to learn how to create actual value. They don't want to struggle. They don't want to do construction. They don't want to do oil work, okay? They don't want to learn how to code. They don't want to learn how to do graphic design. They don't want to learn how to become an editor. They don't want to learn about all the different opportunities that are out there. They don't want to have to invest hours and years studying, all right? They want to just eat, sleep, get laid, work these very menial jobs, and then basically turn around and act like they are equal to everyone else who has to bust their butts to get ahead. Guys, listen to me. I look at myself, and for example, I get sick. I get sick quite often, and it doesn't matter because I have to get my job done. This is my job. I have work to do. And there are people who argue in the comments, it's not actual work. It's not real work. People like you shouldn't be making this kind of money, all right? While a fast food worker has to do real work. Are you out of your damn minds? Do you know how much work it takes to do this? Guys, these people are crazy. These people are absolutely crazy. All right? It's not my fault that you're mentally incompetent. It's not my fault that you are lazy. All right? You do not deserve a livable wage for unskilled work where you just walk in and start making that kind of money. You want to make good money for unskilled work? Go learn construction. Okay? Oh, yeah, it's hard because you got to really put your body into it. You actually have to learn how to do some things, right? You see, these people, they want easy lives. They want easy lives, and then they want everyone else to pay for it. Where this is only going to lead to is more men walking away from society, saying we're done, and making just enough money to survive and thrive and no more, and watching everything go to hell. All right, this is how the Roman Empire fell, where after 100 years, everything in the Roman Empire had been wiped out because they used all of the funds to subsidize the expenses of women in the empire, and men completely abandoned it. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, subscribe to our newsletter for my personal thoughts, insights, and a free copy of my ebook, The Blueprint for Escaping the Rat Race. Click the link in the description to get your free copy. Also, subscribe to the Angry Guy Clips channel, where we post shorter videos and video responses, and also the Angry Guy Live channel, where we live stream. Both channels are linked in the description. And finally, protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Click the link in the description to get started and support the channel. What do you guys think regarding all of this? Do you agree the collapse is coming? Let me know your thoughts, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it, don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.